When I tell you that silence is not weakness, I need you to really hear me, because most people think the loudest person is the strongest one. They think the one who reacts the fastest, the one who claps back the quickest, the one who comes swinging every time someone disrespects them. That's the one in control. But I'm here to tell you that's not power, that's not strength, that's not discipline. Real power is when you feel the heat rising inside of you, when your pride is screaming for a response, when everything in you wants to fire back, and you choose silence. Not because you're scared, not because you're fragile, but because you're focused, because you understand that reacting to disrespect doesn't elevate you, it traps you. Some of you have lost opportunities not because you weren't good enough, but because you couldn't stay quiet at the right moment. Some of you destroyed relationships you needed, burned bridges that were holding your future, not because you were wrong, but because you couldn't resist responding to disrespect. And I get it. It hurts. It cuts deep when someone tries to belittle you, embarrass you, or challenge who you are. But silence isn't letting them win. Silence is refusing to let them decide your next move. Silence is saying, you don't get that kind of access to my emotions. Silence is strategy. You have to understand people who disrespect you want control. They want reaction. They want to see you break character. They want to see you lose yourself for a moment so they can say, "See, I knew it." They want you emotional because emotional people make sloppy decisions. Emotional people blow opportunities. Emotional people sabotage their own progress. That's why silence is a weapon. Because silence protects your purpose. Silence protects your focus. Silence protects your future. And let me be real with you. Silence is not easy. Silence takes strength. Silence takes maturity. Silence takes a different level of discipline that most people don't have. You gotta train yourself to breathe through the disrespect, to stay grounded when everything inside of you wants to snap. You gotta remind yourself this moment is temporary, but the consequences of my reaction might be permanent. You gotta remember that your goals, your dreams, your mission, they're too important to risk over someone who isn't even walking where you're going. Sometimes the greatest thing you can do for yourself is walk away, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Because you know you're not losing anything by staying silent, you're preserving everything, you're protecting your peace, your momentum, your name. And the people who truly know you, they don't need an explanation. They don't need you to defend yourself. They don't need you to respond. They understand your silence because they understand your character. The world will tell you that silence means surrender, but I'm telling you, silence means elevation. Silence means you refuse to operate on someone else's level. Silence means you know who you are, and you don't need validation from anyone who tries to tear you down. You don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to clap back at everything. You don't have to fight every disrespect. Sometimes your silence is the loudest message you can send. It says, I'm not available for foolishness. I'm not available for chaos. I'm not available for anything that distracts me from becoming who I'm destined to be. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of self-control, a stronger you, a wiser you, a more powerful you. And you will never meet that version if every time someone disrespects you, you let them pull you out of your purpose. Hold your silence, protect your energy, and let your discipline speak louder than your pride ever could. Because sometimes the strongest voice is the one that doesn't speak at all. You have to understand something deep if you want to grow, if you want to protect your peace, if you want to keep your future intact. Not every battle deserves your presence. Not every comment deserves your energy. Not every person deserves a seat at the table of your emotions. Some people throw disrespect not because they're brave, not because they're strong, but because they want to drain you. They want to distract you. They want to pull you away from what you're building. And the moment you react, the moment you step into that chaos, you give them exactly what they wanted: access. Your energy is priceless, your focus is priceless, your peace is priceless, but most people treat it like it's cheap. They give it away to anybody who pushes their buttons, and that's why they're tired. That's why they're drained. That's why they feel empty, because they keep fighting battles that were never meant for them. They keep engaging with people who don't contribute anything to their growth. You can't be available to everyone and expect to stay aligned with your purpose. You can't entertain every disrespect and expect to stay strong mentally. You cannot grow if you're constantly defending yourself instead of developing yourself. There are people in your life who know exactly how to trigger you, and they disrespect you not because of who you are, but because of what they see in you. They see your potential, they see your discipline, they see your elevation, and it threatens them. So they throw shots hoping you'll break character and come down to where they are. They want you reactive, not reflective. They want you emotional, not intentional, because as long as they can keep you reacting, they can keep you from rising. That's why you have to learn the art of protecting your energy. You have to know when to stay quiet. You have to know when the conversation is not worth your breath. You have to know when the disrespect is not an attack. It's a test. It's a test of your discipline. It's a test of your emotional strength. It's a test of how much control you really have over yourself. And let me tell you something, the person who controls their energy controls their life. Protecting your energy doesn't mean avoiding everything. It means choosing wisely. It means saying, I'm not wasting my purpose arguing with someone who has no plan for theirs. It means saying, you don't have the power to disturb my peace. It means saying, my growth is too important to pause for your chaos. And the moment you adopt that mindset, the moment you stop giving unlimited access to people who drain you, your life will shift. Your mind will clear, your strength will return, your direction will sharpen, because now your energy is being used for something that builds you, not breaks you. You deserve to keep the energy you've been working so hard to build. You deserve to put your mind toward things that matter. You deserve to invest your heart into things that feed you, not fight you, and sometimes that means walking away from disrespect without a single word. Not because you're scared, not because you're weak, but because you know the value of your energy, and you know it shouldn't be wasted on people who don't value themselves. You cannot control what people say. You cannot control how people act, but you can control what you give your energy to. And when you begin to master that, you begin to master your life. Protect your energy fiercely, because the more you guard your peace, the more unstoppable you become. And when you finally learn to protect your energy, you'll realize that silence isn't avoidance, it's elevation. Growth is one of those things that people talk about, but very few truly live. Everybody wants the results of growth, but nobody wants the moments that force you to grow. And one of the biggest tests of that growth is how you respond when somebody disrespects you. Anybody can talk big when everything is going smooth. Anybody can keep calm when nobody is pushing their buttons. But the moment someone talks down to you, the moment someone challenges you, the moment someone tries to provoke you, that's where your real character shows. That's where your maturity steps into the light. That's where you find out who you really are. Your response reveals your growth. Your silence reveals your growth. Your restraint reveals your growth. There was a time when you would have snapped without thinking. There was a time when you would have let your pride take the wheel and drive you straight into a wall. There was a time when emotion controlled you more than logic, more than purpose, more than discipline. But growth looks like stepping into that same situation and not being moved. Growth looks like hearing the disrespect and choosing not to let it own you. Growth looks like understanding that your future is bigger than that moment. I need you to understand something powerful. When you stay quiet, you're not avoiding the conflict. You're rising above it. You're not running. You're refusing to waste yourself. You're not scared. You're secure. When you stay quiet, that silence is saying, I'm not who I used to be. It's saying I've been developing myself. It's saying I've trained too long and grown too far to let this moment drag me back to an older version of me. People think strength is loud. They think strength is reaction. They think strength is confrontation. But true strength is having every reason to respond and still choosing not to. True strength is having the fire inside you and still keeping it controlled. True strength is being provoked and still protecting your peace. That's growth, and the beautiful thing about growth, it doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. You don't need to explain to anybody why you didn't respond. You don't need to justify your silence. You don't need to defend your maturity, because real growth is internal. It's personal. It's between you, your discipline, and the life you are trying to build. The only people who will question your silence are the ones who don't understand your elevation. There are moments when staying quiet teaches you more about yourself than any book, any speech, any advice ever could. Because it's in those moments that you see how far you've come. You start realizing the old me would have reacted. The old me would have argued. The old me would have matched that disrespect with equal heat. But the new you understands that every reaction has a cost. Every emotional outburst steals time, steals mental clarity, steals peace. And you've grown too much to pay that price. Growth is when you stop letting disrespect define you. Growth is when you stop needing to prove yourself to people who don't matter. Growth is when you recognize the difference between what deserves your voice and what doesn't. Growth is when you understand that your destiny can't afford unnecessary battles. And you begin choosing silence not because you're suppressing your feelings, but because you're elevating your priorities. Every time you stay quiet, your discipline grows stronger, your confidence grows stronger, your purpose grows stronger, because you're teaching yourself that your emotions don't control you. You control them. And once you master your reactions, nobody can master you. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of your silence, a stronger, wiser, more grounded version. And you meet that version every time you refuse to let disrespect pull you backward, because real growth is when you don't rise to the disrespect, you rise above it. There comes a point in your life when you realize that arguing, explaining, defending, none of it compares to the power of simply becoming who they said you couldn't be. You don't have to fight every disrespect. You don't have to answer every insult. You don't have to clear up every misunderstanding. The most powerful response you will ever give in this life is letting your success speak for you, letting your actions speak for you, letting your results speak louder than your emotions ever could. People will disrespect you because they think you won't become anything. They'll talk down on you because they believe you're stuck where you are. They'll try to make you feel small because they want you to believe you are. But nothing destroys disrespect like elevation. Nothing silences doubt like progress. Nothing shuts mouths like you leveling up in silence and showing up with results that nobody saw coming. When you stay quiet after disrespect, you're not being passive. You're planting, you're putting seeds in the ground. Seeds of discipline, seeds of focus, seeds of growth. And while they're watching for you to fall apart, you're over there building something that will outlive every rumor, every insult, every attempt to break you. That's the beauty of silence. While they're busy talking, you're busy transforming. While they're busy mocking, you're busy developing. While they're busy doubting, you're busy rising. You don't owe anyone a reaction. You don't owe anyone a performance. Your life is the only answer they need. The moment you start achieving, the moment your work starts showing, the moment your life starts reflecting the discipline they didn't think you had, that's when everything changes. Because people may disrespect your name, but they can't deny your results. They may laugh at your dreams, but they can't ignore your reality once you build it. They may underestimate you, but they can't outrun your success when it finally shows up. And here's the part most people don't realize. Responding to disrespect keeps you tied to the level of the person who threw it. But letting your success handle it pulls you to a level they can't reach. You don't rise by fighting, you rise by becoming. You rise by improving. You rise by choosing purpose over pride, consistency over confrontation, growth over anger. And every time you choose to stay quiet and keep working, you're creating a future that speaks for you louder than any comeback ever will. There is something powerful about a person who doesn't need to announce their moves, a person who doesn't need to clap back, a person who doesn't need to justify anything, a person who builds, who grinds, who grows, who stays focused while everyone else is talking. Because when the results finally show, people remember the silence, they remember the calm. They remember the moment they disrespected you and the moment life proved them wrong. Let your success humble them. Let your growth confuse them. Let your discipline intimidate them. Let your transformation remind them that disrespect was never your problem. It was their limitation. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is not to correct them. Your job is not to respond to them. Your job is to become everything they said you couldn't be, and then walk into your future without ever looking back at who tried to hold you down. Because at the end of the day, the loudest response you will ever give, the one they will never forget, is becoming untouchable through the success you built in silence.